Shalom. We're in preparation for Torah portion Naso, which is the book of Numbers, and it's all about entering Bamidbar, which is the word for wilderness or desert. And we're going to look at a few things that's going to happen in the wilderness. I've already touched on a few, and I did mention the one topic which is about the offering of jealousy. Now that's right in the middle in Numbers chapter 5, in the topics of this parasha, and it's about the woman who's been accused for committing adultery, and the husband then brings the wife to the priest, and he performs a jealousy offering. And the offering consists of taking this ground or from the soil within the tabernacle, mix it with water, and what the sages or the rabbis say is that he wrote a curse on a piece of paper that was recorded in this book, to say that she'll be cursed and her belly will swell up and her thighs will rot. And then he dissolved that paper, or you put the paper in the water, so the ink will be dissolved in the water, and then she drinks that dirty, defiled water with the curse in it. And if she's guilty, the curse will come true, and if she's not guilty, she'll just become pregnant from her own husband, and they will live happily ever after. I think that basically conclude the whole process in a nutshell. So I was curious to dissect the words belly and thigh, because if you just read the English, it doesn't really sound right. Her belly will swell up and her thighs will rot. And if you think about your thighs rotting, it's the side of your hips, below the hips, that will rot. I've never seen anyone with rotten hips, and I can't imagine that someone's hips or the thighs will rot. And the belly swelling up, is that something you eat and then you feel bloated, or what is it all about? So looking at the different words in Hebrew actually highlight what it's all about. Now, first of all, the word belly is the Hebrew letters Bet, Tet, Nun. Now, just saying those letters in relation to last week's Torah portion, we did touch on the letter Nun, and the letter Nun was at the end of three different words that we looked at, of which one is Shushan, which has to do with the lilies around the wheat belly that represent the pregnant bride, which just received the seed, the letter Nun, coming from the words that's been spoken from the mountain, from the darkness of the cloud, which is the wedding night. And she became pregnant with the seed of the word. And that's a spiritual pregnancy of which man or Israel engaged with Yahweh in a covenant relationship, which is the wedding night. And she became pregnant. So that's the symbolism of that and relation to the Nun. Now, what we see in this word belly is the letter Nun, which is the seed of words, or seeds of words, and then we also see the Bet, which is house or household, and that's what Yahweh did. He spoke over his household, and his household became pregnant under the covenant with the words that he spoke, and they received. Now, what we see in the middle of this word Bet, Tet, Nun, which is Beten, is the letter Tet. Now, for those who've been following the studies, the letter Tet means serpent. It actually looks like a serpent. It's actually an upside down Chet. Chet means life, and Tet represents death as well, similar to Taf, which is the same sound. Taf is just the TH sound, and Tet is the T sound. But Tet looks like a little serpent with his curly tail and with his head, with a little crown on his head. And that is a symbol of the Nachash. Now, when you go back to the garden, That is what happened in the garden. The Nachash, and the Nachash, which I briefly touched on yesterday, is associated with darkness. Darkness and evening has to do with the twisting of truth. So it's not inventing a lie from nothing, pulling out of thin air. It's taking the truth and just twisting it. And that creates a defiled seed. Now, if you have a defiled seed, it means that the child that will be born is defective, is not healthy, or has, issues, maybe extra limbs, or maybe missing limbs, or whatever the case might be. Now, the matter of the fact is that those babies, if they grow up, will not be able to be part of the army, which is the theme of the book of Bamidbar, is to prepare to lift up the heads of the children of Israel. That was last week's Torah portion, which we haven't touched on, is to prepare them to become the army. And this week is the preparation of the priesthood to look after the assembly, to train them up to become part of the army. Now, if you have a baby that's a young child that's got a missing limb, they actually cripple, and they sit at the temple and beg. So that is the outcome of the twisted seed, the fouled seed that's been twisted by the Nachash. And that connects with last week's storyline when we looked at the 5 foolish women or the 5 wise women or virgins, and they became pregnant. Now, the foolish ones are associated with 50 and the wise ones with 49. And those associated with 50, the Gematria of 50, one of the meanings is Baal is husband and worshipping Baal. So that means that the foolish bride, or foolish part of the bride, still engage in a relationship with her previous husband, making her committing adultery, being under a new marriage covenant with Yahweh. And that's where this curse come into. The curse of the offering of jealousy that bring about a curse. So what I'm saying with this is that people who mix and twist Yahweh's word with the help of the Nachash, still engaging with their Baal worship, their husband called Baal, having relations with him, not letting him die, is guilty of the sin, and her belly will swell and her thighs will rot. Now, the word thigh is the word yarak, yod resh kaf, and this actually means loins, and also means the productive part of the body that reproduce. So basically, she will become barren, or her womb, which is another meaning for belly, will become ineffective or bring forth defilement. And that is the curse that will come upon her, is all the people and all the false doctrines and all the sects and all the things out there, they are the children of the women who still are in love with their previous husband Baal, and they still have relations with him. So I just want to leave you with that. So tomorrow we're going to go a bit more in depth into that topic, and I hope you have a